The 18th of May 2025, Pope Leo the 14th and Fatima. I would prefer not to be dealing with religion at all, but something keeps pulling me towards mentioning it on my channel. When Pope Leo was appointed, I hadn't a clue who he was or anything about him, not a notion. But I looked him up a little bit, and the first thing came to my head was, oh, he's an American, so he's a Yankee. Some people say, oh my God, we got Trump and now we have a Yankee Pope. And then I asked the question, why shouldn't an American be a Pope? Well, what's wrong with being an American? There's nothing wrong with it. It did a great service to Irish people in tough times and was good to us. And the Choctaw Indians, during our famine in the 1840s, gave money to us. And there's a monument in Waterford to that event. And the Native Americans were the first people I went to visit when I visited America. I went straight to the Lakota Reservation. Now, so the first thing I did was I rooted around using the internet, and I found a lady who's a nun. Her job was teaching, and we'll call him Robert Francis. His name is a provost or something, but anyway, Robert Francis anyway. So he came to be instructed in biblical studies and teachings of the church and things I wouldn't even know much about. And she described him. And he was the kind of a lad that would never come up behind you and say, how you doing, and give you a clap on the back or be yahooing or anything like that. But he'd come up and he'd be respectful, reserved, but not too reserved. And he was very dedicated in his studies, very dedicated, but not to the point of being exclusive to others. And they'd have a bit of a party when they'd break up for term breaks, maybe summer or whatever. Be a little bit of something, I don't know what it'd be, some wee bit of a get-together anyway. And he always came. And he wouldn't be the one to sing a song, but he'd always clap anyone that did. He'd always be there. Now, when he eventually became a priest, he alone in that community, the Augustines, I think it was, he opted to go on missionary work. And he went to Peru. Now, he may have been other places, and he was a good while since that, but he went to Peru and was 20 years in Peru. And apparently there's terrible poverty in Peru. Always amazes me how there can be poverty in these places. But anyway, new world places but anyway, he was there ministering, and one of the things they were doing, they were dispersing food parcels. There was charitable aid coming into wherever he was, and there was food parcels and clothes and things. Must be very poor. And he kind of chose to be in a poor place. I think he picked it or recommended he be sent, and he was. And there was food coming in and all. But this next thing was, he was there a good while when another priest who I saw on an account, I think he's genuine, all right. He went to the mission, coming long after Leo was there, or we'll call him Robert Francis was there. Robert Francis was there ages, and of course he had big thing they were at it. In addition to teaching and religion and spreading the word of the gospel, was getting out this food and distributing it around. And there was one young chap there, and he caught him stealing the food as well as taking his own portion. And there was big words between him and Leo. a good racket. And this later priest thought that Leo was a bit over the top because the boy's mother was very sick with cancer. And he thought he was a bit over the top, and he thought he saw a bad side of Leo, a bit of a nasty side. So he decided he'd talk to him. So one evening he mentioned to him about the way he treated the boy. And Leo said, it's simple. He either stays here with us and goes the right way, or he joins the gangs. There were gangs, bad, evil gangs in the area. And he says he admitted that the gangs are getting him to steal the food so they can sell it on. And that's not acceptable. And he said that I told him it's not acceptable and that he had to choose. Did he want to be here in the community, or did he want to go away with the gangs? And if he did, that was a break with me and a break with us and the church. So this later priest accepted and did see the wisdom in that. Sort of like you have to be cruel to be kind. But he also saw in Leo a very compassionate type of a man, he says he was. But he had the ability to be cross when that's circumstances, which was rare. This particular evening, things was quiet and it was very hot. And this second priest decided he knew where the woman lived. She was down a road, and there was a back way to it in a hut, probably a shanty hut. And he knew where she lived, where she was, and that she was ill. She had the doctor and all that. Poor, but they had looked after her all right in the church community, etc. And don't forget, Robert Francis Prevost, or however you spell that word, he was made a citizen of Peru in addition to the United States. So this night, this second priest decided to go down and say a wee prayer at the hut, at the back of it. And he went tipping down as dark approached. And when he got to the back of the hut, he saw that Robert Francis, the Pope Leo, was there already praying at the back of the hut, saying a rosary. He had the same idea. So the priest retreated, came back up. He says, well, if he's praying for her, that's enough. And he began to notice Robert was, Bob, we'll call him, he was nipping away most evenings and going down to pray. So he concluded that he was very, very religious, very, very faithful, and that he didn't want anyone to know he was praying for anyone. That was between him and his maker and the woman inside who didn't know he was praying. So that seems to be kind of genuine as far as I know. Now, the next thing is I look at his background, and someone's to say that his two brothers voted for Donald Trump, even though they're in Illinois or wherever they are over there. They voted for Donald Trump. That's widely put, that they're Republicans and that they vote Republican. And that'd be like my own view that the Democrats are an evil party, and they are an evil party. They're not on God's side anyway. Now, whatever you might make of Donald Trump, he has said, and I saw it saying, he more or less said, I'm a proud man. I'll kneel to no one, but I'll kneel to God. Trump has said that. So you'll not get any of the Democrats talking about kneeling before God or anything else, but he does. And Trump is for restricting abortion. And he's for the proper conservative values. And the one thing you can say about him, even he is all the frauds they're talking about, he doesn't stop anyone praying or running their religious affairs, whatever religion they are. He'll not get in the way. And he went to the opening of Notre Dame Cathedral. And J.D. Vance went to the inauguration of the Pope. He had an inauguration the other day, and he gave a sermon, a very good sermon, I believe. I didn't get to look at it yet. So I'm just saying that point as a Trump supporter that I am, rightly or wrongly. And I mean, some people around here say Trump wasn't shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, that that was all a make-up. I don't think it was, because there was a man killed, a man called Corrie, and there was a few injured. Now, I mean, they'd never be able to cover up the death of a fireman who was there. And he did get a clip here. Now, to say that that's all a fake, and the shots were fired as a fake, it's a big thing. I don't think it was a fake. And the other thing was, he had a second rally there, and he brought a Macchio, a singer from Italy, a lovely man. And the song to be sang was not decided till immediately before the rally, and I saw it myself. I'll post a link to it again. And he asked for Ave Maria. It was a lovely rendering. Oh, we'll move away from that now. All I'm saying is, people say there couldn't be a pope because America's too powerful. Why couldn't there be? Why couldn't there be a holy man anywhere on the planet? But then the other thing about Bob, he speaks English because he's American. He speaks English. And English is the best language to communicate the emergency of the message that any decent Christian would spread, and any decent person. Now, I don't propose being a very good Christian or very religious, but I like the truth. I have no reason not to like the truth. I always liked honesty. And I've seen people tell me to my face lies. And what annoys me about lies is not that they try to fool me by telling me lies, but particularly if they know me, that's an insult to my intelligence. They're saying, Val, I can tell you a lie and you're such an idiot, you'll believe it. That's the insulting part about it. I've seen people lying to me face. I was a policeman once, but also outside of that, I do a lot of wheeling and dealing. And I know a person telling a lie like that. I can see it not like that. But that's the annoying part. It's not the lie itself, it's that to think I'm easily fooled by it. So there's no doubt that the one thing the Pope should have is a love of the truth. And to tell the truth. Now, the other big thing that nobody can hide from me is their appearance. I've looked at his two brothers, particularly one of them. I think one of them has a bit of a beard, a smigging, but the other hasn't. I've looked at his two brothers being interviewed, and there's no badness or evil in them. They have a good appearance, a very good appearance. But Bob, or Robert Francis himself, has an appearance of a gentleman. There is no deceit in his eyes, and I'd know it if I seen it. There is no evil in his eyes. And when I pack all that together, I have to make a decision, and I know I might someday be proven to be wrong. I might be out condemning him for something or other. The problem with some of the things I campaign on is climate change may be true or maybe not, or partly true or partly not, but it's not told for genuine reasons anyway. It's told to grab money or to overpower somebody. You see, so he may have something to say about all that as well, but if he says it from the point of view of a truth seeker, he will get by me. He hasn't said anything yet. But there's no doubt he has a very strong faith. A very strong faith. Now, in 1917, it's said that Our Lady appeared to 3 girls at Fatima. You'll get them there, their names. Santos and Murrows, I don't think there was their names. There were 2 families. They were cousins, I think, 3 girls. Now, you can believe it or not, believe it not. But the secrets she gave were the secrets of Fatima. And, God, I hope I can dig them up now. It said she showed them hell. and it had a profound impact on them. It was a shocking place. If you believe in hell, it was shocking altogether. And she was convinced that it was real. Lads scalded and fires and everything, and the devil there. It sounds a bit far-fetched, but that's what it says. The other thing is Our Lady predicted in it that the First World War would end. And it did end the following year. It didn't end until my father's uncle, far enough out of relation, was killed. Only one of my family ever was in any war, unfortunately. So it impacted me a bit. We'd have cousins now, probably, had he survived. But he went over to Scotland for a few pounds and got drafted in, and that's what happened to him. But the thing about it is that the second secret of Fatima was that while the war would end, another one would start. And that would be Hitler's war, or the Second World War. And it would be a devastating war. And then there was the third secret. And it was supposed to be opened in 2012. Sorry, I gave the wrong date. I just try to think of my content, you see. It was supposed to be open, the Virgin left it to be opened in 1960. In 1960. See, I was thinking of the war, First World War. So the first one was a vision of hell and the end of the First World War. The second one was Second World War. And the third one then was the third secret of Fatima. And it was meant to be opened in 1960, 1960, and it was not opened in 1960. But it was opened in 2000. And a few people spoke to Lucille, the one that survived. And a good few people, but she was kept in a monastery and a cloister place, someplace in a monastery or in a holy place, a convent. And to say that when she died, her cell was bricked up, whatever she had in there, I don't know. But the third secret of Fatima was a bishop in white clothes being attacked. And that was put down to the attack on Pope John Paul I think it was in St. Peter's Square. A fella fired a 45 Colt revolver at him and hit him and wounded him. And that was what all it was said to be. But other people who spoke to Lucille wrote books. And some of them, including Pope Benedict, made reference to another secret, that there was two documents in the what do you call it, in this third secret. Just two pieces of paper here. That there wasn't just one. These are old prompts. 1 and 2. The first one was the attack on the Pope. All right, they told the truth. But it took 40 years for it to come out. You'd think they'd have opened in 1960 and said there's going to be an attack on somebody. But anyway, when you add it all up, and I don't want to go naming the people who did it was priests and all that who interviewed her, the other secret was that the church would be attacked from within. From within, not from without. Yes, there was talk about the conversion of Russia. If it was the conversion of Russia or the conversion of China or an invasion from China, they'd have probably published it, if that's all that was in it. Or if it was the end of the world to come, they'd probably have published it. But if it was about the destruction of the church from within, that'd make sense that they wouldn't publish it. And that is what is contained in the writings of those who wrote books about it. There's a journalist in Italy, an eminent journalist, says what I'm saying. And when you look at the Catholic Church, knew a man. He was a commercial traveller, and I met him through a little traffic accident in the guards, and he was gay. I wasn't with him on my own, but I just had to take a statement and all. But he was a nice man. I don't know had he any partner, but he himself had. I think he was some type of a clergyman at one time. He looked to be a clergyman and didn't go on, or he was studying and pulled out of it. But he told me that he knew of a case where a young lad wanted to be a priest, and they do have a mentor. A local priest will act as your mentor. So you go to your local priest, you tell him you want to join, and he sorts you out. But he's your mentor, and he stays as your mentor. You know, a prop that you have to go back to, like your parents a bit. And he went to a particular seminary, and they were all gay. It was all everywhere. And he says, he was there a while. He went back to his mentor. He says, I'm jacking it up. I'm leaving it. I'm quitting. I says, don't do that. Why? Oh, you want to see what's going on, he says. I mean, I don't want to use bad language tonight. And the mentor says to him, give me a little time, don't leave yet. And he got back to him and told him, we'll send you to another monastery, another seminary. And he went to the other seminary, and there was no hanky-panky. In other words, that he was being sent into the first place to be groomed for gay sex. And when he went to the second place, there was none of it. He stayed about 3 months in the second place, and it was 100%, but he left anyway. He quit it. I have that on good authority. I know that it's like something you spot. You see, as a policeman, you come into people's lives in a way that you can find out stuff. And you know, valid always have the ear. You ever see a sow roving? A sow in heat. Then there was a priest in down in near Monaghan, and he was shifted because he was getting bigger crowds than the bishop. There's no doubt about that. The bishop's now dead. And sure, it was all over the paper a couple of years ago that the young seminarians in some college, I don't want to mention anywhere, were looking for gay partners online and everything. There was a big heap of this going on. And definitely the church gets an awful lot of wills, money, left to them. So, anyway, what was in the secret of Fatima, if I'm able to figure it out, and it might all be a cod, I don't say, but it was that the church would collapse from within, that you'd have no faith among the bishops, among the priests, they'd only be there for the glory of it and showing off. And that the population of the places that were Christian would throw up Christianity. And I never threw up Christianity, but I'm not a great Christian. Well, I am in a way. I do a lot of good things, but you won't get me praying all the time or saying rosaries. I'm too busy in many ways. But at the same time, I don't stand in the way of anything religious. I have many religious friends. But the thing is, what the secret said was this lack of faith and the things we see now in our society. Lies. If you notice my YouTube channel, it's all about the lies. I bring accounts in. I'm qualified. I have a degree in accounting, and I tell you what they're doing with the windmills and other things, and I point out the blatant lies that they're telling. I mentioned about Eamon Ryan saying renewable energy is cheaper, which is a lie. The disregard for the law on the SCA directive. And that's only part of it. And some solicitors are crooked, not them all, but some are. And they lie to their own people. And a man will go in and hire a solicitor to represent him in something, and the solicitor he'll take money and go to the other side. Not that often, but I've come across it. So this type of lies. Now, I'm doing all right here, and I'm glad the way the video's going, but there's one thing that I think we will see with this Pope. I've been watching him now, he's only new. I think he knows it. I think Benedict said it more or less about the fourth secret, or the 3A. It was 3A and 3B, 3B, the second part of it. I think Benedict did let it out, did a sort of let it out, and that's what the secret is. And it'd make perfect sense that the church would conceal it in 1960. Now, believe it or believe it not, I can only do the messenger as honest as I can. But I think we'll be seeing Pope. Now he's now Pope Leo the 14th. And of course, there's no point me telling you who he is. You know all about him. But I think he's going to come out pounding about what goes on. Don't forget that in the Olympics in Paris, wasn't it 2024, the last Olympics, a man was allowed in to box a woman and beat her up in a boxing ring. Don't forget about all this woke stuff. The madness that's going on with wokes. Being jailed for praying in your own home because you're near an abortion clinic. And it's in the fourth secret. The truth will be treated as hate. What's the hate speech? What is Starmer doing? Who's he jailing? They're banning the righteous leaders elected in Romania. They're shunning the righteous leaders elected in Germany. And they're trying to imprison Marine Le Pen on old charges about money that they're all into. Huh? I think you're going to see him doing that. Now, I don't want to be giving any Pope a clean bill of health, but he passes the appearance test flying. That man is not a crook. He is not evil. There's good in his face. I think he'll turn out to be a very passionate, a very merciful, a very personal Pope, but also quite strict. I think he's going to dig in, and I hope he does, and point out, is it apostasy or something to call it, what's going on. I'm not saying that we all should go mad religious, and I know some of my viewers will say, Val, look it, we have enough of that, we had a whole lot of it. I'm only trying to give it as I say it. I do claim to be a reasonably good man to assess a situation. And I know that you can't blame him for being American or anything else. His choice could be his ability to speak English. His choice could be that he is believed to be the right man for the job. There may be an extra hand in his selection. It appears that the other cardinals had no doubt that he was the man. Though it didn't take them long to decide that's the man, there's the Pope there. And he looks good and he looks the part. And in the three and a half or fourth secret of Fatima is a vision of a bishop dressed in white. Now there's also the attack on the Pope, which the church says is what it was. I do not think that in any theology there would be a thing about the Pope being shot. He got better after all. I don't think the death of a Pope would be enough. I think the real vision, and this is accepted by nearly everybody, they were showing a picture of a bishop. You see, a Pope can be a bishop, dressed in white. There was no doubt he was dressed in white vestments. And he was walking through a city with everyone dead or dying all around him. And he was going around looking at them and blessing them and all, and in a desperate state, the Pope, it doesn't say it's the Pope, it's a bishop. The bishop himself was in despair and crying about the whole thing and everything. That's in the vision of Fatima. A city destroyed. What it means, I don't know. I don't know. But Lucille, the last of them to see this, or say she's seen it, there's no doubt she was genuine. She saw something. She saw something. She wasn't a fraud. And she submitted to the church. And I suspect that this pontificate will be pointing out that what's happening is wrong And if God is in heaven, he is not happy. Imagine a person being jailed for praying to him. Huh? Isn't that something? Imagine me, probably in a year's time, being arrested and jailed for their stupid hate speech, for Helen McEntee's hate speech law. What's the EU? Apparently, the EU has given Ireland a limited time to enforce new hate speech. The things I talk about here are evil. There's no doubt they're evil. And I have to finish now, folks. It's 30 minutes. I could be proven wrong. My honest assessment of Pope Leo XIV is that he is the real deal. That he is the real deal. And when we go on another bit, we'll begin to see what he's made of and what he says. And maybe I might pick up a couple of his sermons. I've seen a sermon by him, and he talks in English now a lot, which is the language of the West. And most people can understand a bit of English. That could be prophetic, is it? Could be interesting anyway. I think he is genuinely very religious and sees himself as the vicar of Christ. Not a funny thing for me to say. Wouldn't you think I'd be given out and say, oh, he's this, that, and the other? No, there's something about that man. There's something about him. Something about him. He is not a fraud. He's not a fraud. No. So I'll say God bless him, and I'll say a prayer for him. And we'll see you back for something else. Interesting. And I don't like to be talking like this, but if it is the thing that he's a good man, isn't it great that he is a good man? Isn't that great? And sure, wouldn't that give us all a bit of a boost? But we'll judge him by how he speaks against the woke, this stuff. Did I say it already about the Olympics? And if I didn't, it'd be a pity to destroy this video by not saying it. How was the Olympic Games opened? A big transgender man with a big belly on him like a harvest frog, and an imitation of Christ's halo round his head. An image of the Last Supper, one of the most profound pieces of imagery in the Christian world, of all denominations, the Last Supper. And all this gay stuff and food and everything to do with sex and fornication, and everything goes, glorifying the woke, this excessive, I have nothing against homosexuals, but this excessive forcing of this woke agenda that we have in Radio Television Sheridan in Ireland and in the BBC and everywhere else. And the destruction of a society through migration, through uncontrolled migration. There is certainly nothing anywhere in Christianity that says migration should be uncontrolled. You might argue that Christ would have controlled migration, but not that it be unlimited and uncontrolled. But just remember, and I'll leave you on this, it would have been a tragedy if I had to forget that. Go and look at the opening of the Olympics. A big, woke, homosexual, lesbian, licentious, gluttonous feast. The real Last Supper was a modest meal of bread and wine, whereas this was a glorification of gluttony and of the modern way that the world views everything, where they know the price of everything and the value of nothing. I think that is a vision of what was in the fourth secret. And because the church does not have a clean slate, it suppressed it. And maybe now the veil will be lifted. We'll watch what Pope Leo says, but I believe he is on the side of right. and I believe he will do and say right. He's already said that a family is between a man and a woman and their children. He's already said that. There you are. I hope I'm right. I will say a prayer that I'm right. But let's all say one. Yeah. I know. His appearance is too good. He's too good. He's too good. He has truth, honesty, and love and compassion in his heart. And it's in his face. You will not hide that. I might be proven wrong, and if I do, I'll say mea culpa. But I think I'm not. And in his speeches so far, like he's talking about the final judgment being here. Now, I don't know what'll happen, but the world is in an awful state. So I might I might post some stuff he says and some things he says, and all of you people will probably know more than me. Isn't it nice to be able to say something positive and say that I'm giving him a thumbs up? Good luck. Maybe you'd give me one as well here on there. And if you subscribe, it's good because all you get is a bell and you can disconnect that. But the more subscribers I have, the more it looks good and I get away with saying more on YouTube. And it's harder for my critics to pour scorn and to make little of my efforts on my YouTube channel because I'm getting a good viewership. And thank you all. Goodbye. Isn't that nice? It's nice to be able to say that. No, I think I'm on the right track there. I think Pope Leo the 14th is good, and God bless him. Goodbye. Thank you. Good luck.